To another episode of Kundalini Rebels, which I hope has enticed you to come and watch. And I'd like to make it clear that I wouldn't actually call myself a rebel. I'd call myself a woman standing in her truth and inviting others to speak up about theirs. Perhaps that entices you more. I've got another Kundalini queen with me right now, Victoria Amore, who's a Kundalini yoga teacher, a gong practitioner, therapist, and I had a little look, a cosmic creatress. What is that?
Thank you. Yeah, I feel like it's so interesting when you said that about being a rebel, because I was really thinking about that. And I'm the same. I think I wouldn't call myself a rebel, but it just might look like it sometimes, because I feel like when you truly embody the practice, which I've chosen Kundalini, it brings this energy up, and from that space you start to do things that might be unconventional or might be rebelling against your own practice. And so when I say this cosmic creatress, I think this is what happens. I just become a creator and I create all these different things. I have many unfinished projects, and it's just part of my process, part of my journey. And I feel like that's what has happened when this Kundalini starts rising. You've just got this creative force, and there we go. This is what happens. Yeah. Self-titled.
I love it and I know it. And yeah, we've had some fun over the times and chatting and being good yoga teacher buddies. And one of the things you said, and it stuck with me, I can't remember when, but you said something about, I don't want to be another burnt out yoga teacher. And I was like, yeah, I hear that. I've known that in the past and I see it. And I thought it would be a great opportunity to bring that on the chat and discuss it a little bit. And there's a lot of like, when you've got to make ends meet, I feel you can get caught up in that sort of like yoga as a business trap, which is, yes, we need to live in this world, unfortunately, it makes the world go round. But when we're like working on an hourly rate, which, I mean, I'll get into that about what I feel is like exploitation of yoga teachers, but some studios paying people 20 quid an hour, you know, and that's like, doesn't even include the time before, after, travel to and from, marketing, all of that. But how can we manage ourselves? And for me, and we can discuss this, to me, it comes back to the foundations of the practice, yoga being about balance, and also remembering why you did it, why you started. And really, it's like, well, because it's for us. It helped me feel good, and that's why I wanted to share it. But yeah, what do you think of the foundations of it for you?
I've never been to that point where I'm exhausted from teaching yoga, because if anything, I was like, I want to do more. I want to teach more. It was like a dream that I would then be just like a full-time yogi. But I had this feeling like in the back of my head, like, okay, so like when I will see some people's schedules and I see they've got like 3, 4, 5 classes a day, I just know that's just not possible for me to do. So for me to be able to hold space and give all my energy, and I love to talk after, and I love to do all of this, I just know it couldn't be like full-time hours. Yeah, so coming back to my own practice, making sure that I'm really grounded, and that means I have to work a lot on me being grounded and my root chakra. And so it means that I have to say no, basically. I have to say no to multiple classes and be picky, which means then if it was something for like a low price, like you say, being exploited, for me it just has to be a no. So I wouldn't be able to go into that and say yes and do it when it doesn't feel right, which is hard when you are running a business, so you think classes equals money. You get into that side of it. It doesn't work. The two don't necessarily work together. If that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's kind of coming back to the idea of energetic dynamics and abundance, and really for me, the practice, I infuse the tantric element, the energetic dynamics is that sort of masculine and feminine. The masculine is the doing, is the one that perhaps is like, yeah, we can get all these classes, maybe a bit of an excitable maiden within. And then it's like actually actioning them. And as a woman with the different months, the different cycle throughout the month and the fluctuation of energy, to actually see things through is another matter. And also it's like setting those boundaries. You know, when something doesn't feel right, like you say, saying no, actually. And to me, that can be a lesson in itself for studio owners, other yogis, and for students.
Yeah, it's knowing what your dharma is, like who you are, because some people are so amazing and they just get everything like is online, and you know, everything looks so beautiful, like really well presented, and I just see that they have that strong masculine, like that doing energy, and they have that and they can do that. So I feel like it's finding your space and knowing what's right for you, coming back to your truth, back to your center. Who am I? What have I got to give? What do I need to receive? What does that look like? And then how can I make it happen? So it's like really breaking that down. And yeah, for me, I'm a mother, and that's like my ultimate act of service. And so just simple things, like there's only so many evenings per week that I want to leave my child. And so there's only so many classes per week that I'm going to teach in the evenings, because that's my fundamentals. And so it doesn't matter how much money I was offered, that's still going to be a no. So I know my values like very strongly, and from that point I can make my decisions, and people then start to respect that message is going to be shown a lot more if we all like stand up a little bit more to what we need, what we deserve, what we're willing to give.
Yeah, it's interesting. You talk about your dharma as being in service, and totally honour your perspective. For me though, and certainly in the Kundalini world, we're taught to be of service, and to me that's a very light masculine perspective, and it can kind of dilute the person, so that there's an inability almost to say no, which for me would be like the dark masculine that is cutting and knows its boundaries. And also the ability to receive, like actually our life is for us and we're not separate from others. So actually if we're over giving and just serving to the detriment of ourselves as yoga teachers, then actually we're relaying a message that we're for other people, which is not the case for me. Well, it's something that I've had to learn. And again, this comes down to energy dynamics. And, being a teacher to me is like, I'm always a teacher. I'm always a yogi. It's not like I sit on the mat and I'm a certain way. And it's like having that integrity in my teachings to uphold who I am in every moment. But one of the questions that came through for us was, how to allow all as is. I think that there's, and this has been coming up in quite a few of my, so I host some meditation classes and I'll just be like, how's everyone feeling? What do you want to work on? Let's see what wants to come through. And what I've been hearing a lot actually is, how can we just be? And it's like almost overstimulating, even in the sort of high vibrational communities, all the yoga teachers saying, do this, it'll make you feel good, do this, do that, have a regular practice, all of this, da, da, da. And that almost can become overwhelming. And so I'm hearing that, how can we kind of still that and just allow everything to be as it is? What do you think? Yeah,
it's like one of the most simple things, but I actually feel like this is what I'm so good at, because I'm like really connected with my inner child. Like there's part of me that's never completely grown up, and so I feel like it's not something to you. If you hang out with kids, you experience this more, or if you're a neighbour a lot more. there's a presence, and when you're fully present in that moment, this is when we can experience that really is, as opposed to go to do something to make us feel like that. And so, yeah, just even cooking a meal, you can have that experience. You know, take away the technology and you just cook a meal with your child or with your friend, and you just allow that to happen and to unfold. And in each moment, you're just doing, you know, just slowing it down and being present with each moment, that, you know, each part of that process. I feel like that's more of that feeling that we're talking about, that isness, the fully present and being completely all in one space, not you know, teaching a class and thinking that you've got to go, or being with your child thinking, okay, well, I've got to finish my work, or, you know, just being fully in that space when you're there. Not that I'm like that at the time, but I really do find that, especially when I'm with my daughter, that she's like the best person to hang out with, because she's always just in that present moment. She's never thinking about tomorrow, ever. And I find this when I practice my yoga, when we're in a meditation, you know, like we can do a 2.5 hour meditation, and it feels like, I don't know, it feels like 10 minutes has gone, because we're just fully there and we're fully absorbing that space. So for me, that's that space that I really love, which I would call that isness. For me, it's not so much a practice, it's a real stepping back and being present if you can. Not easy.
Totally, it's present, and also the more you can be present, the more you can receive. It's like, for me, people think about meditation like you have to be upright and rigid and, you know, like still the mind, and, you know, you're supposed to be in this place of absolute nothingness. That's not the case. Like, life can be a meditation if you choose to bring that awareness. So it's like walking can be a meditation, like you said, cooking food. And then it's like, then also whilst you're doing it, whilst you bring that presence and that awareness to it, fully receiving it. Wow. And then it's like bringing all the senses in. So the feel of your hips swaying as you walk, and perhaps catching the scent of a flower on the breeze, or noticing like how the leaves are changing every day. It's like fully receiving life, you know. And I think, I mean, I'm going to go into a big topic here, but what is like this coronavirus? What is it teaching us on a broader scale? And for me, it's like connection. We're not disconnected from all the ecosystems in the world. You know, it's a viral bacteria that's spreading. It reminds us of our humanness, of our animalistic nature. But also it's like being in the body. And these bodies, we can't just keep burning through them. We can't live in a world where we just do, where we're not fully receiving the beauty of the earth and listening to the animals that are struggling with us. You know, we're not working in harmony. We're not living in union, which is the idea of yoga, with the rest of life. You know, so in each moment, and again, this is like the meditation of life, is like listening to the signs. And that is like listening to the signs in your own body. You know, if I've got a headache, what's it telling me? If I've got an ache, what's that telling me? You know, if there's something bigger going on in the world, like a huge virus, what's that telling us? Down to like infertility, problems with the womb, women not listening, and on a larger scale, the feminine not being felt, our physical body, the earth being feminine. And there's so many lessons there for us. But it takes that, what you say, like the presence and the receiving it and moving from that space. And to me, this can be kind of relayed into every part of our life. You know, we teach it on the mat, we try to, or I do, it's like move into a pose, do the pose and receive it, you know, the masculine and feminine in every moment. And that is the awareness that we need to cultivate, really.
Yeah, because otherwise it becomes like the meditation or the isness or even the present is another thing on the to-do list. And so it's just become so overwhelming. And another thing that I've really come to accept is, for me anyway, it feels like balance is an illusion. And so for me, I've come to accept that there's always going to be something a little bit out, and that if I focus on a certain couple of things and just accept, like, for example, okay, my daughter's always like number one, and my work, and then, okay, maybe like the house is a bit of a mess, you know, it's okay. It will, you know, another time the knee painted, like yesterday when I've done a forward fold in my yoga class, I looked at my toes like, oh, okay, I need to trip to the, you know, go and get my nails done. So it's like, how can I possibly, in this human self with all my flaws, be like the perfect mother, the perfect teacher, look good and groomed, have the perfectly clean house, you know, earn enough money? Like, for me, I just have come to that acceptance that not all of them are going to be ticked off at the same time. And so for me, that becomes like a dance. And as soon as I accepted that, I feel like I kind of have this kind of, it's almost like this little joke with life, like, you know, like, yeah, it's okay. How would all of these things be right at the same time? But I feel like there's something in the consciousness that is still sort of projecting that upon us, that it could all be right, it could all be good, you know, like this kind of nice Instagrammed perfect world. And I think, going back to coronavirus, I think when things like this come and it shakes us up a bit, it does remind us of our imperfections, and then what's really important. Sometimes it can be a positive, you know, just a little reminder.
Yeah, I love that idea of perfection. And one of the phrases that I always use, or I often use, is we're all imperfectly perfect, just as we are. And it's that level of accepting ourselves as we are and not beating ourselves up. We do live in this sort of outwardly polished world. And often that's not the truth. You know, I feel like this is, again, like the feminine, the vulnerability, the emotions. So much of that is not shared. And there's this facade of, yeah, I've got it all together. You know what I mean? I'm all perfect and Instagram worthy. And I mean, can we allow ourselves to be real and raw? And I mean, I laugh also with I was having a conversation with a younger friend, and I was saying something about a journey that I'm on, you know, because just because I'm a yoga teacher or a facilitator of different methods, tantra, whatever, it doesn't mean I'm like perfect and I've got nothing to work on. I think the deeper you go, it's like more stuff to unravel. And then for me, sometimes I feel the transpersonal stuff that's moving through me. And she was like, oh, I thought you'd have everything together by now. And I was like, you know, probably I find it easier to deal with stuff now because I've got a lot of tools, and I'm like, oh, okay, it's happening. It's not a huge like breakdown. But to going back to the main topic, it's like, I think we can burn ourselves out with this like striving for perfection, rather than going, actually, I'm tired. I'm just going to lie down.
Yes.
And that's okay. Like, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, like, I've done enough. Is that, you know, I am enough, I've done enough, I'm taking a break, or yeah, I'm not going to do anything today. Just having those times when there's nothing on the schedule.
It's being real. You know, and we're all on our journey in different ways, and often it's coming back to ourselves. You know, yoga is not about competition. It's remembering that we're not in competition with each other as yoga teachers, and we can learn from each other and be inspired. And perhaps even if we're kind of triggered by something, then seeing that as a lesson also. Another question that came through that I wanted to get in is it okay to put ourselves first, you know, when we're in this place of service, you know, not to push somebody aside, but if we need our own time, is that okay? Which is a very sweet question, I suppose. And again, it comes back to this idea of being in service, and boundaries, like, and even sometimes saying to somebody, not immediately responding. I have one-to-one clients that I can feel they want that kind of mother figure in their life, you know, and there's constant messaging. And for me, actually, to choose, I'm not going to message you until I'm ready, you know, that is a lesson in itself. But it takes a certain maturity to go, I'm going to step back from this. And also it's like stepping back from the business angle of it, because it's like we're not trying to hold on to students. It's like, no, I'm going to be true. And I'm not trying to be your friend. I'm trying to support you, you know? So for me, again, energy dynamics, it's like, yes, put yourself in. Like, because you're teaching somebody else to put themselves first in that way, and say, oh, like we said before.
But also that, I feel like that's such a really beautiful and innocent question in itself, because to actually admit that, like, is it okay to put myself first? Again, that just shows that we're not, as a collective, we're still not sure if it is. And the truth is, a hell yes, it is. You have to. And that is even myself as a mother. You know, like I say this in service, but I'm in service from a place of abundance. You know, I'm really giving from this space of like, I'm so energized. I have so much energy to give. And I'm not giving from a space of lack, that because I haven't given to myself first. Like, it is like, yes, give to yourself first. And I think that, it's such an amazing question, because it's once you're asking that question, you have the awareness that you're still not actually sure if you are. And I think the reality is that's where most people are at. You know, they give to their work first, or they give to their household, or whatever it is in any form of life. So yeah, I think this is, maybe we should ask ourselves that every morning and then repeat yes afterwards.
Yeah, and even the word abundance, I love. It's like, for me, it is a dance, you know. Manifestation is a bit of a buzzword. It's like calling it in. And one of my teachers said to me once, rather than saying, what do you want? She said, what are you ready to receive? And really, this is, again, it comes back to the feminine. It's like, what are you doing this for? You know, are you doing it for yourself? Because if not, what are you separate? That's like seeing the separateness of us. And actually, we want to come from a place of connection. And if we're connected, yes, putting out what you want to receive, what you want to manifest, but also putting yourself in a space of receptivity for that to come through. So sometimes, I don't know, as a yoga teacher, if you want to have better workshops or something along those lines, do you have the space for it? If you're doing loads and loads of classes to make ends meet, you know, which is like a false economy, you don't have the space then to really call in what it is you want. Another saying that we use in the Kundalini yoga world is keep up and you'll be kept up. And that is really, it's like filling yourself up with the divine energy so that it can pour through you. So you fill up your cup first, and then you share from that cup. And it's so important to keep your own practice. And that changes, you know, I think as you change in the age and times and what you need. But staying with yourself is super important, and that's how we do avoid burnout, ultimately.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
So we are coming to the end of this call, Victoria. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing some thoughts with us. Yeah, it's really ironic, isn't it? I don't want to be another burnt out yoga teacher. And it teaches us about the society that we live in, I feel.
But yeah, when you sort of repeat that back to me, I was like, yeah, I know that is my mantra, because I can see it as well. Like when I've gone to other classes, I can see it in other teachers, and it's not nice. And yeah, it starts with us. I think it always starts with us, and yeah, having these conversations, setting a precedent for other people, and yeah, coming back to our truth. It's what it always comes back to. Come back to our truth. Know who you are. Know your worth. Know what you're here to do, and how you can do it in a way that it just moves. It dances, but it's good for everyone.
Yeah. Do what's right for you in every moment. Thank you, dear. I will speak to you soon.